Early diagnosis, quite simply, saves lives. Now, I've heard this message repeatedly during my visits to cancer centres across the country. I know, too, what a difference it has made in my own case, enabling me to continue leading a full and active life, even while undergoing treatment.
Welcome to Headline to Heartline. Some stories do not just cross a palace threshold, they change the way we listen on the other side of the door. And before we go any further, it is worth pausing on something we do not always name out loud: how rare and how necessary hopeful news feels right now. We are surrounded by urgency, anxiety, and fatigue, and when a public figure speaks in a way that offers steadiness instead of alarm, it lands differently. King Charles has long been regarded as a thoughtful, conscientious man, and moments like this invite us to see his humanity more clearly. Not the crown first, but the person. Not invincibility, but resilience. That matters, especially now. This week, the headline that matters is not simply that King Charles III is still being treated for cancer. It is that on Friday, December 12, 2025, he publicly signaled a shift in the road ahead. In a recorded message broadcast in the United Kingdom as part of Channel 4's Stand Up to Cancer programming, the king said his schedule of cancer treatment will be reduced in 2026. In royal life, where health updates are usually measured and spare, that single word, reduced, is the news. It suggests momentum, it suggests planning, and it immediately raises the question most people will ask in the first minute: what does reduced actually mean? In the message, King Charles spoke about early diagnosis as something more than a slogan. He said early detection and treatment had enabled him to continue leading a full and active life even while undergoing treatment. Then he delivered the line that carried the headline: thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention, and following doctor's orders, his own schedule of cancer treatment can be reduced in the new year. It is understandable to hear that and wonder, does reduced mean cured, in remission, finished? The palace has been careful not to make that claim. Reporting around the message described a transition into what was called a precautionary phase, with continued monitoring to support his recovery. In plain terms, this sounds like a step down from a more intensive treatment rhythm to a less demanding one, while still keeping a close medical watch. It is progress, but it is not a public declaration that the story is over. Now that we have the new development first, let us place it properly, because the timeline explains why this moment carries so much weight. Early in 2024, Buckingham Palace announced that the king would undergo treatment for an enlarged prostate, described at the time as benign. During the follow-up tests connected to that procedure, doctors identified a separate issue. On February 5, 2024, the palace publicly confirmed that the king had been diagnosed with a form of cancer and that he had begun a course of regular treatment. The palace also emphasized it was not prostate cancer, while keeping the specific cancer type private. From the start, the public message tried to balance candor with restraint. The king stepped back from public-facing engagements for a period, but continued state duties behind the scenes. Over time, he returned in a careful, calibrated way, and when he did speak about cancer, he consistently framed it around what it could mean for others, not only what it meant for him. That is why the December 2025 message landed the way it did. It was not delivered as a traditional royal address, but inside a national cancer awareness campaign, where the purpose is not ceremony, it's behavior change. The king directly addressed why people avoid screening: discomfort, inconvenience, fear, embarrassment, and he pushed gently against all of it by pointing to the simplest truth: early diagnosis saves lives. He also referenced an online screening checker in the UK aimed at helping people understand which screening invitations they may be eligible for, including programs related to breast, bowel, and cervical cancer. If you are listening from outside the UK, the details of those programs will differ where you live, but the human pattern is the same. People postpone screening because life feels too full, because they feel fine, because they would rather not know, or because they have convinced themselves that worry is the same thing as preparation. But screening is not about borrowing trouble. It's about giving yourself options earlier when options tend to be wider. Please take a moment right now to like this episode and subscribe to the channel, and then come straight back because the meaning of this update goes beyond palace walls. What makes this announcement especially resonant is where it sits, right at the meeting point between personal vulnerability and institutional continuity. Monarchies are designed to feel steady, even timeless, and health news disrupts that illusion because it reminds everyone that titles don't change the body's rules. At the same time, modern audiences expect transparency, and the royal household has to make choices about what to share and what to protect. Here, the pattern has been consistent. Confirm what the public needs to know about his ability to carry out duties, keep clinical specifics private, and use the visibility of the moment to encourage practical public health action. There is also a broader family context that has shaped how these updates are received. In 2024, the Princess of Wales also publicly disclosed that she was undergoing cancer treatment and later spoke about completing chemotherapy and focusing on recovery. The details of her diagnosis, like the King's, remained private. For many people, those parallel disclosures made the subject of cancer feel less hidden and less taboo. For others, it raised questions about the emotional cost of public disclosure and how much any family, royal or not, should have to carry in public. But most listeners will walk away with a simpler, more useful conclusion. The King is not claiming the end of treatment, he's saying the shape of treatment is expected to ease in 2026, and he's using that shift to underline a point that matters in everyday life. When cancer is caught earlier, the path forward can look different. So if you take one thing from this week's headline, let it be this. Reduced is a hopeful word, but it is also a careful one. It points toward improvement without promising a finish line. And it comes paired with a message that's not really about a king at all. It's about the rest of us doing the unglamorous thing that protects our futures, booking the appointment, answering the letter, taking the test, showing up even when we'd rather not. Thank you for spending this time with me, and if this episode helped you understand the story or nudged you toward a conversation you've been putting off, please subscribe to the channel and like the video before you go. And goodbye. And as we step back through the palace door tonight, let us carry one thought with us. The smallest threshold, crossed in time, can change the entire map.